Academic discipline, theoretical English grammar, lecture 7. Available category of voice. A lecture is based on materials from a course in theoretical English grammar by Mark Bloch. Passive and active forms. The voice of the English verb is expressed by the opposition of the passive form of the verb to the active form of the verb. The sign marking the passive form is a combination of the auxiliary be with the past participle. The passive form as a strong member of the opposition expresses reception of the action by the subject of the syntactic construction. It has the passive subject noting the object of the action. The active form as the weak member of the opposition leaves this meaning unspecified. It expresses non-passivity. In colloquial speech, the role of the passive auxiliary can occasionally be performed by the verb get and probably become. Sam got licked for a good reason, though not by me. The young violinist became admired by all. Place of passive voice in English. The category of voice has a much broader representation in the system of the English verb than in the system of the Russian verb, since in English not only transitive, but also intransitive objective verbs, including prepositional ones, can be used in the passive, the preposition being retained in the absolutive location. Besides, verbs taking not one but two objects as a rule can feature both of them in the position of the passive subject. I've just been run up by the police. The diplomat was refused transit facilities through London. Still, not all the verbs capable of taking an object are actually used in the passive. In particular, the passive form, the line to many verbs of the total subclass displaying a weak dynamic force, such as have direct possessive meaning, belong, cost, resemble, fail, misgive, etc. Referential qualifiers of voice. The category of voice differs radically from all the other hitherto considered categories from the point of view of its referential qualifiers. Indeed, all the previously described categories reflect various characteristics of processes, both direct and oblique, as certain facts of reality existing irrespective of the speaker's perception. For instance, the verbal category of person expresses the personal relation of the process. The verbal number, together with person, expresses its person numerical relation. The verbal primary term denotes the absolute timing of the process. It has its timing in reference to the moment of speech. The category of prospect of expresses the timing of the process from the point of view of its relation to the plane of posterity. Finally, the analyzed aspects characterize the respective inner qualifiers of the process. So each of these categories does declare some actual property of the process denoted by the verb, adding more and more particulars to the depicted processual situation. Situation in the passive and active constructions. As a matter of fact, the situation reflected by the passive construction does not differ in the least from the situation reflected by the active construction. The nature of the process is preserved intact. The situational participants remain in their places, in their unchanged qualified. What is changed then with the transition from the active voice to the passive voice? In the subjective appraisal of the situation by the speaker, the plane of his presentation of it is clearly seen when comparing any pair of construction, one of which is the passive counterpart of the other. The guards dispersed the crowd in front of the presidential palace. The crowd in front of the presidential palace was dispersed by the guards. In the two constructions, the guards as the doer of the action, the crowd as the recipient of the action are the same. The same also is the place of action. It is the space in front of the palace. The presentation planes, though, are quite different. With the respective constructions, they are in fact mutually reversed. Namely, the first sentence, by its functional destination, features the act of the gods, whereas the second sentence, in accord with its meaningful purpose, features the experience of the crowd. This property of the category of voice shows its immediate connection with syntax, which finds expression in direct transformation relations between the active and passive constructions. Voice identification. The big problem in connection with the voice identification in English is the problem of medial voices. It is the function of the voice forms in other than the passive or active meanings. All the medial voice uses are affected within the functional range of the unmarked member of the voice position. Let us consider the following examples. I will shave and wash and be ready for breakfast in half an hour. I'm afraid Mary hasn't dressed up yet. Now I see your son is thoroughly preparing for the entrance examinations. The indicated verbs in the given sentences are objective, transitive, used absolutely in the form of the active voice, but the real voice meaning rendered by the verb entries is not active, since the action expressed are not passed from the subject to any outer object. On the contrary, this action are confined to no other participant of the situation than the subject. The latter constitutes its own object of the action performance. This kind of verbal meaning of the action performed by the subject upon itself is classed as reflexive. The same meaning can be rendered explicit by combining the verb with the reflexive self pronoun. I will shave myself, wash myself. Mary hasn't dressed herself up yet. Your son is thoroughly preparing himself. However, lacking both regularity and an outer form of expression, it is natural to understand the middle voice uses of verbs as cases of neutralizing reduction of the voice opposition. The peculiarity of the voice neutralization of this kind is that the weak member of opposition used in the position of neutralization does not fully coincide in function with the strong member, but rather is located somewhere in between the two functional borders.